Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Mommy Trainee. Now today we're gonna do a video on my son's bedroom. Now as you can see, his bedroom setup is actually quite simple, and it's because in terms of bedroom, you don't want to have a lot of distraction. You want him to, by the time he comes here, he's all calm. He's not gonna be distracted by, trying to get, this toy to play with, that books to read. I mean, we do have books that we read to him or read with him before bedtime, but we limit it to just a few things that he could do. By the time he comes to his bedroom, it's almost like, do one more thing and then you have to go to bed. But the bedroom setup, actually, there are quite a few items that I think is very essential, especially now that we're coming into winter. So let's go over what we have here. So the first thing, obviously, in the bed itself, there are a few huggy animals, stuffed animal thingy for him. This Chihuahua is his go-to right now. He has a safety blanket, and the first essential that we're going to talk about is actually his blanket. Now, I know that winter, usually people would try to buy, let's just say, comforters instead of like thin little blankets for their kid. But I do have a comforter. I find that it's actually not as soft as blankets like these, and they are like when you put it on them, they don't drape as well on their shoulder. And kids, they move around, and if it doesn't drape, like the chances of it being on top of them, it's just almost non-existent. Like within 10 minutes or within even like 5 minutes, the comforter, it's basically just gone, like it's on the floor. This one, I find that this is actually, let me see, this is called, let's see if we could, Aiden, and okay, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that name, but this particular brand, and make sure that you go with the original, not the there are another name, I think, that is not as expensive as this. The name is very similar. It's kind of like a second line that this company has, that sells, I mean, it's good. It's still a good blanket, but it's just a lot thinner. This particular one, it's I think $50 on Amazon, and it has 4 layers, and it's super, super soft. So when you put this on them, they are actually gonna drape very nicely on the shoulder. You could tuck them in any way you want. Sometimes he wants his feet to be tucked in, sometimes doesn't. So it really depends on, what his mood is. But we find that this particular blanket is very soft. It's breathable. One thing that I'm very dead set on is that any fabric that we're putting on him needs to be breathable, because kids, they are very warm. So if you put something that's not breathable in it on them, then either like they kind of get very, very hot, which is just not good. It keeps them warm, but then since it's breathable, they won't overheat. So it's not gonna be like an oven under the blanket. So I really, really like this one. There is another one that is, the same brand, and I think it's something called a stroller blanket. It's really, really big too, and it's only 2 layers. This particular one is 4 layers, but there is another one that's 2 layer, which is just as good. It's very, very good for the cooler summer months. Let's just say if you have the AC on in the house, you still need to have some kind of blanket on them, especially on the belly area. You wanted to make sure it's covered. Then the other one, it's really, really good for the summer. This one, I think fall, maybe even up to at least Christmas, it would be really nice. Until then, I have to find another comforter that's really warm and breathable and still very soft for him for the winter months, like the January to, like, let's just say April. But I think this, for the fall season, it would work really, really well. So on the bed, another thing is that this is a toddler bed. It's a convertible bed from his crib. So it has this little panel. Let me see. It actually looks like that. And the reason why we cover them with these really thick blanket like this is that I don't know if all the kids does this, but my kid likes to kind of all of a sudden put his head down really quickly and without warning. Like, he doesn't just put his head down, he just throw his head down. So sometimes if he misses, he could hit this. And there are times I've actually caught him hitting this little panel once. And good thing I actually have the foresight to put a blanket on it, so it's not like a hard hit. But then that's the reason why we have this big and ugly thing here. So moving on to the next thing. This is another essential that's really, really good. Now, this is a Dyson, I think it's called Dyson hot and cool fan. First thing, obviously, for kids' room, now that he's in a toddler bed that he could move around, the first thing you wanted to make sure is that you don't have fans with blades. This is a bladeless heat and fan combo. So when it's it also actually has a remote, and the remote actually has some sort of magnet that kind of goes onto here, but then the remote is actually not here right now. I don't know where we put it, but it's probably in the other room somewhere. So the heat portion of the fan, usually that's what we do, and in the winter especially, the house heat, sometimes it's very hard to regulate the house heat in our house. So let's just say if the first floor is warm, then the bedroom floor, it's not as warm. The heat doesn't come all the way up, and then the heat stops because it thinks that the house is warm enough. So what we do is we put a little fan, a heater fan in the bedroom usually, and it has a temperature setting. So you can set it to whatever temperature that you want. Once it reaches that temperature, it's gonna just stop. And the heater part of this fan, when it's on, it heats up the room. It kind of pushes the air out. And so it's not like a stationary heater where, when you get close to the heater, it's really warm, but then the heat doesn't actually radiate out to the room. This is actually kind of like a fan. It pushes the airflow around the room. And the thing is that even the heat is on, the heater itself, it's not hot. So even if you touches it a little bit, it's not going to burn you, which is actually very important. So the not so hot heat, and also the bladeless, it's one of those very important features that I was looking for when I purchased this. And obviously this in the summer, if you wanted to just open some window and have some airflow, it has a regular fan. So it really depends on your need, like what kind of temperature you have in the house, whether it is winter or summer, then you use either the heat or the fan. So this is actually something that we've been using for I think 2 years now in the house. I do have to say that it's not super quiet. So but then the thing is, it's a fan, so maybe like the white noise of it would help some people sleep. But if you are the type that needs to be completely quiet in the room, then this could get a little noisy for you. And another thing is that the bottom of the fan right here, if you turn it on, there's actually a very bright temperature. Actually, let me try to, I don't know if it's plugged in. So right now it says 73. And quite honestly, sometimes when the room is all dark and you want the room to be completely dark when you sleep, that 73, it's kind of bright. So one of the solutions that we've had in the past is actually use this A&D bottle, this little jug, and put it right in front of the 73 so that it blocks some of the light. So it's not like projecting, like basically lighting up the room. But the thing is that maybe some people need nightlight, and we do actually have a nightlight in the room too, but then the thing is, the 73 is for us, it's a little bit too bright, so we sometimes just kind of block it. But then I think this is one of the really important things that we need to have, especially in the winter with the heat. We wanted to make sure that the air in the room is not too cold, because I noticed that when the air is too cold, even though he is warm, if the air is too cold when he breathes it in, it makes him cough a little bit. So that's the thing that we were trying to prevent by having the heat here. or the fan, depending on what weather you're in. Next thing is this little, let me just get closer to it. This is our baby monitor, and we've been using this baby monitor since he was a baby or newborn. So I would have to say, if you live in a house, especially like a multi-level place, like a duplex, 2-3 level house, sometimes, you know, when the kid is asleep or the baby is sleeping, you go and try to like put him down, you do other stuff. But then in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, oh, you know, if he cries, I might not be able to hear it depending on where I am. And that's why we bought this monitor, not only to make sure that we could see him where he is, but if he cries, if he makes a sound, then we would be able to know and would be able to come back and attend to him. This also has a night light. So not night light, it's night vision. This is the Motorola one. And it, you know, the camera head could actually like move left and right, you know, up and down, which is actually pretty good. This is not a Wi-Fi version. The reason why I actually specifically don't want don't want to have anything that's Wi-Fi or connected to any network, it's because we hear a lot of horrible stories about people hacking into Wi-Fi and be able to see your house, or actually be able to, you know, say something to scare the baby or startle, you know, people that's in the room. Because you could actually, like with the other handheld monitor that we have in the other room, which I actually usually put in my bedroom, I could not only see him, as you know, even like at night, I would be able to see him. I would be able to hear the sound in his room, and also if I wanted to, I could talk through the monitor, and then the camera would actually, you know, have sound, and it's kind of like I could talk to him like walkie-talkie from another room. I normally try not to do that, because usually when you talk into some kind of electronic anything, your sound is a little different, so I don't want to kind of scare him and startle him. Because he may be, you know, with me talking into an electronic device, he might not be able to tell that it is my voice. And especially when he is not expecting people to be in the room, all of a sudden, if the camera talks, then it might kind of freak him out. So I normally try not to do that unless I really, really couldn't just come to him immediately, then maybe I would. But I actually don't use that particular function of the camera. But I think for me, the most important thing is that, you know, the camera itself, it actually moves around, you know, could see the whole room. I mean, we don't really have a really big room. It's decent size, and especially when the lights are off, I need to be able to see him, I need to be able to hear him, and that's really important. And actually on the monitor itself, where I keep, you know, by my bedside, you could actually tell the room temperature. There is quite a few functions, but for the most part, I use it to monitor him and make sure that the room temperature doesn't go below a certain temperature, so that it's too cold or too hot. That's usually how we use it. One of the main complaints of everyone that's using this camera is that the battery of the monitor itself, it does not hold a charge after a while. So for us, I think if we unplug the other monitor, and I would say maybe within an hour or so, it would actually just be out of battery. And most of the time we actually keep it plugged in anyway, just because it doesn't really hold the charge that well. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if I ever needed to, like, you know, go downstairs for, you know, another like 10 minutes, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I only have 5 minutes of batteries in my monitor. So we usually keep it charged anyway. This little thing here, I don't know why there's a paper towel behind, but this is another like a temperature gauge, thermometer. It actually tells us the, you know, for the most part, we just wanted to know the temperature in the room, because sometimes even the heater has a temperature on it. However, sometimes, you know, just different temperature, it just detects different temperatures. We just wanted to have like different, you know, different viewpoint of, you know, whether the temperature is really like 81 right now. Another thing that's really good that this one tells is that the humidity of the environment. So obviously when the humidity is lower, then we'll probably, usually later in the year, maybe around like late November, we'll probably take out the humidifier, which is yet another thing that we normally like to keep in the bedroom. But right now, since it's only October, we don't really have to do that yet. At the bottom of the bed, there's really not much. We keep some tissue just in case if he like needs something, because at night we actually bring a bottle of water with him. He has his sippy bottle, so if he spilled anything or if he needs a runny nose, he needs to wipe his nose or something, there is some stuff that we actually keep under the bed. There's a few books there. This little mat on the floor, I cannot tell you how useful this is. In the initial few nights that he moved into this room and have his own bed, we didn't have this mat yet. I think it was probably either the second night or the third night. You know how toddler, when they sleep, they move, and they move quite drastically throughout the night. And I think it was the second or the third night, he actually fell down the bed, even with the little panel on the side. The little panel actually doesn't really do much except for maybe act as a handle for them to hold on to when they slide off the bed. But I think the second or third night he fell down. He was very startled, and it's not too high, so I don't think he really got hurt. But then we just, the next day or like 2 days later, the mat came. We ordered something from Amazon that come here in 2 days, and we assemble it immediately after we got the mat. So this mat, actually, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. It's not the thickest that we could find, but it's thick enough for let's just say if he fall again, which hopefully he's not going to do. It should actually kind of lighten the blow quite a bit. And also the side of the mat, actually, it's a little, I don't know if you could actually tell, but like this is the mat, which is I think like 3/8 of an inch, and then there is these borders that actually comes tapering down, so that when you're actually walking from like the floor onto the mat, it's not that easy for you to kind of trip over, which for a toddler, that's important, because they are like all over the place. They don't know where they're going, and it's not we have a mat downstairs, which is not something that we have to kind of put together in like squares like this. Is one big mat, and one of the side is actually a little kind of curl up, and quite a few times he almost got tripped over it. So I was very happy that this one has a border that kind of tapers down so that it's very flushed to the floor. So this is actually quite a must-have. After that time, he actually did not fall again yet. Touch wood, knock knock. But then there are quite a few times that when I check on him, or when my husband's checking on him at night or in the morning, his head could actually go from the right side where the pillow is all the way to the other side. So sometimes there were this one time he was literally half of his body is hanging by the outside of the bed, like the foot and all that is actually outside of the bed. I don't know how he get there, and I don't know how he could actually stay asleep like that, but they're toddlers. You could never really fully understand them. So that's that. This is how we set up his little sleeping quarter. For now, these are some of the essentials that we think we need for him, especially through the fall season. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.